The State Department's being smart about running a trial for online passport renewal. There's some caveats. So they're testing it because, they don't want the glitches that sometimes occur if the site gets overwhelmed with traffic. They want your most recent passport that was renewed within the last 15 years. It cannot be previously lost or reported lost or stolen. There's no key data that's changed. So if your name, like if it's a woman and she had a maiden name and now it's a married name, a gender or place of birth, and that it's only for regular tourist passports, not any of the specialized passports that are available. So there's some limits. Now, the cost is still the same cost as if you're going to go into the post office or mail it in. And clearly online, it's much more convenient, much less disruptive. It's easier for planning. This, I think, will really help travelers who, are really taking trips in many places around the world in the last couple of years, and it's going to continue in 2024, really kind of get their passport renewed much faster, and that's a plus for everyone. From a inflation perspective, both the consumer price index and the producer price index were announced this week. And it's really good news, not only for consumers, businesses, and it'll also give the Fed a lot more confidence to potentially cut rates. They committed this week to one cut. A lot of people are betting on two. Some of the details is that the consumer price index dropped 1/10 of a point from 3.4% in April to 3.3% in May. Economists were kind of betting that it would hold firm. So that was really good news. The core inflation, which is taking out food and energy prices, dropped 4/10 of a point from 3.8 to 3.4%. That was the big win for consumers and the Fed. Costs that were down more than average were gas, new cars, new clothes, and airfares. And so one of the challenges that consumers have had with inflation is that it really has been in the grocery arena, gas to some extent when it spikes, but in the grocery arena, because over the last several years, overall grocery prices have increased a net 20%. So you're paying 20% more today for those same items in the grocery store than you were in 2021. And one of the reasons that's the case is, a lot of people blame, are saying, well, can the government do anything? Well, the government's done a lot of different things to help kind of reduce pressure on prices. But the people who are responsible for this are companies who sell products in the grocery stores. And these guys, although they've increased prices aggressively, companies really did not increase prices at all from 2010 to 2019. When inflation was about 2%, there was a lot of pressure not to increase prices. So companies maybe took a few ounces out of a bag of chips or a couple of ounces out of a half gallon of orange juice, but it was fairly invisible to the consumer. But in 2021, they started raising prices, and they kind of blamed the supply chain disruptions, which are absolutely a valid excuse. But consumers then continued to spend, and they didn't seem to care about the price increases. So businesses made up for a decade and increased prices the last couple of years. Only now have corporations kind of backed off and are looking to reduce prices in the supermarket. And so this past month, we saw the price of eggs, milk, rice, bread, and fish all decline in the supermarket. And the inflation for food is well below the 3.4%. It's about 2%. So, the prices, at least to consumers, are appearing very stable.